Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And Jai Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda, Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar, Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. And Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Vaga Ki Jai. And Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. So today we can remember our lineage, we can remember where we have got whatever we have got, where that source is, and we can try to remember that our duty is to share it as it is. The phrase Srila Prabhupada liked very much and gave the title of his Bhagavad Gita, as it is. So in that mood, then we can ask, I think last time, Paramananda Prabhu said, there's a substantial question from Nahush. And we said, oh, substantial question means we need more than overtime of 2 minutes, because we were a little over the time at that time. So we mentioned we could start today with this question from Nahush. So in the chat, it is, dear, so Hare Krishna from Harinamananda. Hare Krishna, Dandavats, this is in the chat box. And Nahush to everyone. Dear Maharaj, I wanted to know if we can speak about the pastime of Sanatana Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how he gave his body in the service of Mahaprabhu. How can we use this to understand how to use what we have in the service of Krishna? Okay. So I'm just considering there are not just one pastime with Sanatana Goswami, showing how he gave his whole life to Mahaprabhu, body and everything else. Body may be one thing, but he gave his heart, soul, life to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this happened from the very beginning. After he'd met Mahaprabhu, first of all, by mind he's done this. When Mahaprabhu was corresponding with him, he was writing, he and Rupa Goswami, they were both in correspondence with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there was a mail system of some sort even at that time, because this is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He'd written some request and got some message back, and this way Mahaprabhu was already acquainted with Sanatan, or you can say more to the point, Sanatan was already acquainted with Mahaprabhu, more to the point in this instance. And then this surrender in his mind to Mahaprabhu actually drew Mahaprabhu to come to Ramakeli. And when Ramakeli was the place he went to when he's on his journey to Vrindavan, and he tried on his first attempt unsuccessfully to go to Vrindavan, but it is all Leela. It was, Mahaprabhu told that it was for the reason of meeting Rupa and Sanatan, or Sanatan Goswami and Rupa Goswami. That it was for the purpose of meeting them that he went to Ramakeli. And then after that, then they means Sanatan and Rupa made arrangement to leave from their government service and then join Mahaprabhu forever. Now, there's a history, but history means Leela in the case of the devotees. That Sanatana Goswami, he was arrested because he'd left his government duties. The king had wanted him to accompany him to go to Orissa to cause disturbance, essentially, to Jagannath servitors, to the devotee Hindu section in Orissa. The king, the ruler at that time, then he was Muslim. And anyhow, he was arrested finally, after a long story, which is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the long and short of it all is that by one means or another, he got free from his arrest by a very traditional method, it seems, in Bengal to get things done. He got free from his arrest, and then he made his way over to Varanasi. In fact, he made his way to over to Varanasi, but on his way, then he took a servant with him, and that servant had some gold coins, perhaps 8 gold coins, and he kept back these coins from the funds which were used to help Sanatan get out of jail. And anyway, this came to be known by Sanatana Goswami, and through an innkeeper who had offered eagerly to help them to cross some dangerous tract of land in the night. But then Sanatan, being very smart, he understood, why is the innkeeper being so helpful? Then he asked to his servitors, have you got any money with you? Anything valuable with you? And then he said, yes, I have 7 gold coins. And so anyway, they passed these over to the innkeeper. But the innkeeper then also informed to Sanatan, he has 8 gold coins, but he's giving me 7. Anyhow, in this context, then, after crossing that dangerous tract of land, then the innkeeper did help and said, okay, I'm not going to kill you tonight because you saved me from killing you, you've given me your money. But the point is, then after that, then Sanatan, understanding his servant had a gold coin, said, please, now you go back, take that coin and you go back to Bengal. So basically from there on, you can see he has 0. And before that, he had everything. He was one of the chief ministers in the government at that time. So all his possession, his prestige, all these things, now he's traveling with 0, with nothing. And he comes to Varanasi, and that's then where Mahaprabhu, on his way back from Vrindavan, then he met with Sanatana Goswami in Varanasi. And the longest particular section in the whole of Chaitanya Charitamrita is Mahaprabhu's instructing to Sanatana Goswami. And that is extensive. An extensive record of that is kept there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And of course, more extensively elaborated on that are the writings which then came to be of Sanatana Goswami. Anyhow, step by step, showing his complete natural renunciation of everything of this world. And then body-wise, we can think that sometime later on, Sanatan came from Vrindavan. So after that, Mahaprabhu sent him to Vrindavan. And remember, at this time, Mahaprabhu was on his way to Puri. And Sanatana Goswami very much wanted to go with him to Puri, but Mahaprabhu said, no, my wish is you go to Vrindavan, and there you, with Rupa Goswami, you discover the lost places of the Leela of Krishna, the lost deities, and you write books on devotional service based on what I've told you. So then again, each step, there's surrender. It's not what I want to do. When we surrender to the Lord, when we make our surrender, it's okay. Now, whatever you want me to do, wherever you want me to go, then that now is my duty. Not only duty, it is my happiness to do that. So even though unhappy in one sense, at not going with Mahaprabhu, he's going to Vrindavan. Then after some time, he comes from Vrindavan for pilgrimage to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. And while crossing from Vrindavan to Puri, then he got some sores in his body. And these sores were due to contacting bad water, going through the jungle and the marshes, etc. So somehow he got these sores in his body. And when he got to Puri, then Mahaprabhu was very happy to hear he'd arrived. And so Mahaprabhu, when he met with Sanatana Goswami, then he embraced him tightly. But Sanatana Goswami was so sad because he felt his body was like 100% contaminated. Oh, I'm so filthy that there's like pus oozing from my body, from sores, and now this body Mahaprabhu has touched. It's touched Mahaprabhu. What a big offender I am. So then he had some thought. Okay, I will leave my life because I'm such an offender. Now I can't see any way out of this offense except by ending this life. I'm such an offender. And so he resolved that he'd gone there for the time of the Jagannath Ratha Yatra. He resolved that he'll go while the Jagannath cart is trundling along from the Jagannath temple to Gundicha. He'll throw himself under the wheels of the heavy carts and have himself crushed to death by the wheel of Jagannath. And he felt, this will be an auspicious way for me to leave the world. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knows everything. Don't forget, Chaitanya is God. We hear the descriptions of God. He is Krishna. He is all-knowing. He's also all-sweet, all-caring, and so many things, and reality, the beautiful. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, in the mood of a devotee. So he knows everything. It's not maybe he knows or gets a spark of inspiration. But as we do know, sometimes fortunately and sometimes unfortunately, that Lord knows everything that goes on inside as well as outside, everyone's mind, body, actions, everything. And then Mahaprabhu, knowing Sanatan, had made such a resolve. Then he came to Sanatan and said, Sanatan, I know what you're planning. Now you hear from me. Your body, you are thinking it is your body. This is not your body that you can just throw away. Your body, you already surrendered to me. So now it is mine. You cannot think it is yours, it is mine. And now you want to destroy my property. I have so many things to do through you. So leave aside all of these thoughts. And Sanatan was shocked that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to him and explained in this way. And then Mahaprabhu embraced Sanatana Goswami and all his sores disappeared. One of these, quietly mentioned, it's one of so many miracles that you can say that took place, but the whole of Mahaprabhu's pastime was one big miracle from beginning to end. But these are two or three examples that come to mind of Sanatana Goswami giving himself wholesale to Mahaprabhu. And the teaching we get from all of this is really nothing is ours. We get many teachings, but nothing is ours, including our body. We are coming to Guru, we're coming to Gauranga, we're coming to Krishna by the process of surrender to Guru, to Gauranga. And so by this surrendering process, we generally think, oh, we're surrendering some time, we're surrendering some money, maybe, we're surrendering some energy. But we are really coming to surrender our whole life for them. And so this life is for adjusting. And one big adjustment we need to make is even our body is not ours. We should try to use it properly in the service of the Lord, try to understand what is our service, and then utilize this body nicely. Hare Krishna. The whole of Chaitanya Charitamrita is a great gem, a pure gem, and not one gem, it is one ocean of gems, of beautiful descriptions of the pastimes and examples of the Lord and his eternal associates. Is this what you were asking? Something along these lines?
Yes, Maharaj. It's especially how I just read it in before the class, how the pastime of how Sanatana Goswami, the later pastime when he was thinking about giving up his body. This is perfect. Thank you so much.
Jai. And when you do read Chaitanya Charitamrita, as I'm very happy to hear that you are doing, please read also the purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is so much there, and like insight and anyway, just extra things. Extra things means illumination of the verses and setting the scene and explanations. And Srila Prabhupada has based his commentary on Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary. And there is so much, really, it is, Chaitanya Charitamrita is very rich, and Chaitanya Charitamrita coming through Srila Prabhupada is very rich and most valuable.
And Maharaj, we can add a little bit more from Chaitanya Charitamrita on Nahush's question.
Please.
Because we know how it all happened right now. Srila Madhusudana Maharaj described in details how Sanatana Goswami surrendered. And really, the whole pastime of Sanatana Goswami, especially through Madhya Lila, shows the process of Paniprat, Pariprashna, and Sevaya, how to approach spiritual master. So when Mahaprabhu is in Varanasi, so Sanatana Goswami arrives shortly, he's staying in the house of Tapan Mishra. And Sanatana Goswami comes there, there's another wonderful pastime, and he's renouncing his fancy blanket that he left for his use, but Mahaprabhu disapproved, he understands that. So many pastimes actually. But what happens in the house of Tapan Mishra is Pariprashna. He is coming, he is surrendering himself. He already surrendered himself. It's a matter of fact. Now he's inquiring. So what is his question? Sanatana Goswami is saying, Ke ami? Who am I? What is my position? Kene amai jari tapatrai? They say, why am I suffering in this world from all these threefold miseries, as we heard, ati bhaujika, ati atmika, ati daivika, so many sufferings coming. So what is that situation? So Mahaprabhu, can you please explain to me what is my position? Then the famous verse coming out from the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivara Swarupa Hoi Krishna Nityadas, Jivara Tatasta Shakti Pheda Abheda Prakasha. Mahaprabhu reveals the constitutional position of the Jiva, the loving servitor of Krishna. This is who you are. And why are you suffering here? That you can refer to Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chapter, like Maharaj just mentioned, perhaps the biggest and most voluminous chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, called, generally referred as Sanatana Shiksha, where Mahaprabhu gives the instructions to Sanatana Goswami about who you are, why am I suffering, what is your constitutional position, what is this world, what is the spiritual world, what are the relationship between Jiva and Krishna. All of that is explained. So we hear about Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. In short, these are Sanskrit terms that sound scary. I understand that too. But Sambandha is about understanding who you are and what is what and who is who. Abhideya is the way how to reach that, how to free yourself, how to remember, how to wake up, how to come to Krishna's lotus feet. And Prayojana is the final destination, describes the situation in the spiritual world, who you are there and how wonderful it is. So basically it is dedicated to wonderful pastimes of Krishna in spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan, Gokul Vrindavan too. So that was asked by Sanatana Goswami. And in that is also encapsulated the process of surrender. So also here, what is sannyas? There is a beautiful chapter that describes pastimes of Avanti Brahman. It's in Srimad Bhagavatam. When he is surrendering himself to the lotus feet of Mukunda, he's saying, I'm ready to give my body, my soul, my mind in the service of Mukunda. And really, this is a proper sannyas. Externally, we may think that sannyasi is the one who is wearing saffron cloth. That was refuted by Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev as external manifestation. And actually, Srila Gurudev mentioned, it belongs to mundane realm. It's not yet spiritual. We should look into a substance, what a person in saffron cloth represents. And Gurudev used to say, sannyasi, his mind can be as attached as, the most attached householder who has a family, home, children, wealth, etc., etc. And householder who is practicing Krishna consciousness properly can be more renounced than a sannyasi. And we hear the illustration about this particular point from the pastimes of Śrīla Ramanujacharya. Śrīla Madhusudan Maharaj used to tell us that wonderful story. But the cloth of his disciple sannyasi was mixed up, and then Ramanuja is seeing how attached they are to such a small thing. And then he takes them to a village nearby where a very renounced grihasta couple lives. So they're having their lesson there. So we should always remember that. So this is why Srila Guru Maharaj points out, I will bow down in any direction from where I will feel that flow of devotion, that current of Krishna Prema coming. I will bow down to any direction. And he is saying, it is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kenyanoi, E Krishna Tattva Veta say Guru Hoy. So we don't have to look for external, we have to look for internal. You can be Vipra, a Brahman, Shudra, obviously a Shudra, a lowborn, or a sannyasi, or a grihasta, or a vanaprastha. It doesn't matter. If you don't know anything about Krishna, it's all useless. It's all waste of time, waste of energy. But if you are a grihasta, vipra, shudra, mlechha, sannyasi, but you do know something about Krishna, then you say guru, then you are a guru, then you're qualified to be a teacher. And Śrīla Rupa Goswāmī confirms that in Śrīla Upadeshamritam. So the whole process of how to give yourself was coming from that simple question of Sanatana Goswāmī. Keami Kemeava Jare Tapatrai. Who I am and why am I suffering? So Mahaprabhu, and it's all Leela, of course, he's using Sanatana Goswāmī to reveal that to this whole world. And as we know, he is the chief of our group of Sat Goswāmī, the 6 Goswāmis of Vrindavan, very well respected by the Brajabaisis, considered to be the fatherly or grandfatherly or like an uncle to everybody. So everybody loved him and he loved everybody, just like Śrīla Gurudev used to say. When he's describing his childhood, and really it was true to the whole life of Śrīla Gurudev. He said, I loved everybody and everybody loved me. Later pastimes of Śrīla Gurudev, everywhere he goes, everybody is attracted, showing some affection. Everybody loves him. And then he is showing some affection to everyone. So that kind of nature exhibited by Sanatana Goswāmī as well. So a little addition to that.
Jai. Hare Krishna. One day we have to understand, we do have to surrender, not to be attached to anything in this world, except maybe we have said recently, 3 things: accept, preserve, and utilize in Krishna. But they're not preserved for us, they're not our things of enjoyment. And I hope you're now reading Prapana-jivanamritam and or Sharanagati, whichever one you're reading first in our New Year's, which is very New Year, 6th of January, New Year's challenges. And there you'll see so many beautiful expressions in both of those books. Both in the, by the way, in the introduction of each of those books, there is the glorification of Sharanagati, means, okay, the name of the book in the case of Sharanagati, but of Sharanagati, surrender, giving oneself. And so this will all give us some encouragement to see really we have to be a Sharanagata, a surrendered soul. And that was inculcated into us, we have to say, through the teachings of Srila Prabhupada when we came to the mission. And we joined into the temples and had nothing. Literally, we're just on the floor. Even our clothing, you take out a dhoti and a kurta and everything else from a pile each morning. And including the underwear, like all things, nothing was yours except, as we did find out, except the toothbrush. all those toothbrushes weren't communal toothbrushes, even though some thought so. So the toothbrush you had, but I don't remember anything else, which was like ours. And it was a good lesson, really, for, yes, we accept whatever comes. And there's no question of going to buy snacks or go to the local shop, because at least where I joined the temple, it was a place called Croom Court in northern England. And it was in a remote corner of the world. So even if you had managed to smuggle in some money somehow and kept it hidden, you didn't even have anywhere to spend it because you couldn't walk out of the door and buy something. So it was quite a quick throwing into the fact that we have to get used to nothing is ours. And we must maintain this now all the way through, even though facilities come to the devotees. All of you have got computers or mobile phones. Otherwise, how are we here? But even if we're not here, everyone's got like super high-tech things. But we must understand that they're not ours also. They're in our care for the time being. And our body is not ours. It's in our care for the time being. And we need to use it properly. And the other thing is that by surrender, we will never be the loser. Krishna, he sees everything. He sees our sincere attempt, and by our attempt and our hankering in the proper line, he will give us the association. And we do hear Gurudev telling us that why Chinadapi Sunichina Taroreva Sahishnana? Why these directives in our life? Then they are so we can become fit to associate with the devotees. Excuse me. So we must become fit to associate with the devotees. So there is gradation. And when we constantly can go through the books as you are doing, beginning to end, step by step, the books of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Govinda Maharaj, and Srila Guru Maharaj, then we'll certainly get in our mind the gradation, what we think we are surrendered, what we think this. Now, then it is a point on an infinite line, because we're going to an infinite destination. And as Guru Maharaj says, so we cannot think that with a little effort, our journey will be finished. We have to keep on giving that effort. Hare Krishna. So we hanker to be a surrendered soul. So Sanatana Goswāmī, Rupa Goswāmī, all of the Goswāmīs, it is not possible for us to imitate. This is another important point. But it is possible for us to keep that ideal on our head. And why not put into practice the very essence of what they are doing? This is the age of Mahaprabhu. He's given everybody the opportunity to surrender and serve, to chant the holy name and to practice his direction, amplified, if you like, focused on by Gurudev and Guru Maharaj and Śrīla Prabhupada. You read all of their books. Again and again, they're stressing humility, tolerance, giving honor to others, not wanting honor for oneself. These 4 items, and giving honor without wanting honor for ourselves. Sometimes Gurudev is giving as 1 item, because if we give honor, then that means we are namaha, as Guru Maharaj points out, with no ego, nothing wanted for ourselves. And then to adjust to the environment. Nobody can do you any harm. Guru Maharaj's own words. No one can do any harm to us except ourselves. So whatever is coming to us, it is for our good. Krishna is seeing everything, especially for the devotee, those who are trying to come to him. The few, relatively few in the world, who are trying to come to him. And as Guru Maharaj said, are our guardians living, or are they just historic matter? They are living. This is the factor. And when they see our attempt, then they are not going to abandon their students, their servitors, those who are trying to do what they want as Sharanagatas, which is to spread Mahaprabhu's message. And we should all try in some way to see in our local community how we can keep reaching people. Whoever we meet, tell them about Krishna. And somebody out there in the world must be a good soul who is going to understand how to reach a lot of people in a sweet way and present the truth in a sweet way, which will appeal to everyone's heart. As Srila Gurudev pointed out, nobody could guess that Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, would be that person who would bring Krishna consciousness to the world. But indeed he was. Just see. So that does remind us, we don't know in this world who is around, who is going to, at the right time, which may be now, shine with Krishna consciousness to the world, be a big lighthouse, a big beacon. Hare Krishna. And to the several devotees who joined us, belated Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, belated obeisances, means Ekadashi, Bhagavan Prabhu, Ajita Krishna Prabhu, Chintamani, and Prafula Krishna Prabhu. And if I did miss anybody from before, I don't think so, but if I did. Gauranatha Raj Prabhu, I mentioned you, I'm sure. I saw you there from the beginning. Right? Yes,
Yeah.
any contribution? Oh, there we are with Damayanti and the team in the Tomsk temple, in the hot, warm kitchen of the Siberian temple. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, Paramananda Prabhu has a message in the chat reminding us about Jiva Goswami's Tidolap today for us in this corner of the world. For you, it was yesterday.
Okay, so can I ask, please, to Paramananda to say something, because I may not be able to speak for very long because of sore throat.
I may say something, but we're asking you.
Well, I know, but I would like, especially today, I would like you to say something because I am sore-throated. So I'm trying to preserve a little bit.
Anyhow, today, in your part of the world and our part of the world, it was yesterday. And really, I didn't know. I came into the temple and Bhakti Lalita announced that today is Jiva Goswami's Tirobhav. And really, it's one of the biggest days. Mahaprabhu Parashad's appearances, disappearances, it's all very important days for us. And we heard so many times from Srila Gurudev how extensively he would glorify Vaishnavas on those days. Srila Guru Maharaj's recordings about it. And Jiva Goswami, he is undoubtedly one of the most illustrious Mahaprabhu's followers, Mahaprabhu's Parshads, and one of the 6 Goswamis. Also happened to be the youngest of 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. And since we're speaking of Sanatana Goswami, we heard there were 3 brothers, Rupa, Sanatana, and Anupam. 2 were the devotees of Krishna. 1 was not a devotee of Krishna in a sense, but he was a great devotee of Ramachandra. And Rupa and Sanatan used to try and convert him. Just think about it for a second, just think about it carefully. When Rupa and Sanatan combine their forces and try to convert somebody into devotee of Krishna, what are the chances of not being converted? It's inconceivable and probably even impossible to think about it. But they tried, and Anupam tried to get converted, but he couldn't. But that gives so much satisfaction and happiness to Mahaprabhu. They show his loyalty, how loyal he was to the lotus feet of Raghunath, Ramachandra. So Mahaprabhu glorified that loyalty, that chastity that he showed also in beautiful Leela. So Anupam, he had a son and his name was Jiva. He was the one who will become later known as Jīva Goswāmī. And we hear how Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur reveals early pastimes of Śrīla Jīva Goswāmī in Navadvipa Dhamma Mahatmya. And that is also an astonishing thing. Like we heard so many times that scriptures, what is coming, the revealed truth that is coming from the saints is Amnaya Tattva. It is something that descending from the upper world to us. It's not some kind of an imagination. It's not that somebody is trying to write some very fascinating novel, or it's some kind of a historical occurrence and was written somewhere, all the records been kept and done. We're just redundantly repeating those records. No, it was unknown, not revealed at that moment. With Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he goes to Navadvip. You all know that he rediscovered all the places by the grace of Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnavas. But what is in Navadvip Mahatmya is actually an eye. But what kind of eye again? What kind of eye he is using to see how Nityananda Prabhu takes Jiva on parikrama around Navadvip Dham, right after Mahaprabhu disappears. And Jīva Goswāmī, we hear that he met with Mahaprabhu when he was a boy, very young. And he is on the way to see Mahaprabhu, but he gets the news that Mahaprabhu already concluded his lila. By the time he arrives to Navadvip, he meets with Nityananda Prabhu. And Nityananda Prabhu, by his power, by his grace, by his kindness, he is revealing everything. He didn't miss anything. It was all revealed by Nityananda to Jiva. Wherever he goes, he sees Mahaprabhu performing his pastimes, dancing in the house of Shivasacharya, doing Nagar Sankirtan, going to the house of Kasi, honoring Prashadam in the house of Advaitacharya, Shivas, Sachimata, Vishnupriya. He is seeing that. Nityananda is revealing that to him. And he is a young boy. He is still very young, maybe, I don't know, once Gurudev mentioned, maybe 12, 13 years old at that time. And then Nityananda Prabhu says that Mahaprabhu, give Vrindavan as a service place to your family. You go there, enjoin your uncles, Rupa and Sanatan. Do it immediately. So Jīva Goswāmī, after getting blessings from all the residents who were still present in Navadvip, the full blessings and full support of Nityananda, he continues to Vrindavan. Then he stops at Varanasi. That's again very significant because that's where the talk between Mahaprabhu and Sanatana Goswami happens. And then he studies Sanskrit scriptures. But what is Jīva Goswami quality of study? He is not just studying some kind of a dry grammar of Sanskrit. He is conceiving. Wherever he reads a Sanskrit word, he is thinking about Krishna, about the pastimes of Krishna. And later that will manifest in a wonderful work by Śrīla Jīva Goswāmī called Hari Namamrita Vyakaran, which is extensively glorified by our Guru Varga. And Śrīla Gurudev pointed out that he learned Sanskrit. Because Śrīla Guru Maharaj requested him, you learn Sanskrit, get acquainted with that language. So Śrīla Gurudev, with the blessings of Guru Maharaj, he studies Sanskrit grammar from this book of Śrīla Jīva Goswāmī, Harinamamrita Vyakaran. And what is the book? The grammar of Sanskrit explained on examples of different names of Krishna. That's how you study. And actually, that was Mahaprabhu's desire in early pastimes of Nimai Pandit. He wanted his disciple to use Krishna's name to study grammar. And then, anyway, you know that story, so I'm not going to go that way. So Jīva Goswāmī, he arrives to the ashram of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami requests him to serve Rupa because Rupa, absorbed in ecstatic emotions, he is just writing endlessly. He is serving Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is moving his hand, so he's scribing verses on the palm manuscripts, but he has no capacity. He is not in this world at that moment. He is not properly arranging them. So Jīva Goswami is there collecting them nicely and arranging them nicely, also serving as a servant, menial servant to Rupa Goswami, cleaning everything, doing the laundry, washing his clothes, cooking for him, cleaning the area, cleaning the toilet area, anything that is necessary. Here is the perfect servant. And again, Gurudev comes to mind, another perfect servant not from a distant time, but from our time. And we had the good fortune to actually see. That's why I always reminding myself that by having association with Gurudev, we had same quality association, like if we would stay with 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. There is no doubt in that. So Jīva Goswāmī continues that service, and I'm not sure, Maharaj, would you like to tell some stories about Jīva Goswāmī? I don't want to speak all the way, but there are some wonderful stories.
I left it in your court. Well, there are stories about Jīva Goswāmī. As we know from Gurudev and from Guru Maharaj, but Jīva Goswāmī, he was the protector of our sampradaya. And he was, as we've heard, brilliant. He learnt Sanskrit on his way to Vrindavan because he knew his service was going to be to Rupa and Sanatana, and what the service will be that he will need to be able to do composition and give them assistance. And we can remember from Gurudev in a chapter from Dignity of the Divine Servitor, he's explaining how Baladev Vidyabhusan, when he came to protect our sampradaya, then he first gave his obeisances to Jīva Goswāmī, because Jīva Goswāmī in the time of, or just after the time of Mahaprabhu, but in that contemporary time of the Goswamis, Jīva Goswāmī, then he was the protector of what Sanatana and Rupa had given, and means what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had given, because many times they had just made statements without going into the background of why this, why that, etc. So Jīva Goswāmī, in order to cover all bases from everywhere, then he gave a very voluminous backup to the teachings of Mahaprabhu through Rupa and Sanatana. So Baladev Vidyabhusan, when he was faced with the big responsibility to assert the authenticity of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas by making a bhasya, a commentary on the Vedantas, then he first prayed to Jīva Goswāmī, and he composed a pranam mantra to Jīva Goswāmī. And that pranam mantra, Gurudev explains that pranam mantra in that chapter of Dignity of the Divine Servitor. And then a beautiful thing is that after all of this explanation, then Gurudev, he says, and when Guru Maharaj was explaining this verse, he would become transformed. And we felt as though Jīva Goswāmī was sitting right in front of us this way. I mean, very beautiful, intimate kind of feeling between Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, Jīva Goswāmī in this way.
Bhakti,
so this is some
Rakak Maharaj.
protect.
There's a reason.
Yes. Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Rakak, protect, devotional protector of devotion, Bhakti Rakak, Śrīla Jīva Goswāmī Maharaj. So this is one of the, if you like, qualities of Jīva Goswāmī, that forever he lives on. And we know, we've seen this, that the devotees, they live on in their teachings. And so Jīva Goswāmī living on in his teachings, and this presented finally by Srila Baladev Vidyabhusan in the Bhasya, the Govinda Bhasya, by the grace of Govinda, the deity of the Rupa Goswami rediscovered. So we're having a very two brothers and a cousin, right? Day today means Sanatana Goswami you asked about, Rupa Goswami's deity of Govindaji, by Govindaji's blessing, and then Baladev Vidyabhusan, with the first giving all honor to Jīva Goswami, gave the protection for the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So now we're having a very kind of a special 6 Goswamis morning, or 3 of the 6 Goswami morning, if you like.
It is, Maharaj. And actually, Jīva Goswami includes all the Goswamis, because he not only systemized works of Rupa and Sanatana, but also Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and he had extensive association with Lokanath Das Goswami, Bhugarbha Goswami, and later Krishna Das Goswami. So he was that center of where all devotees would flock together. And he was, like you said, Bhakti Rakak. So original, we can say, the first Bhakti Rakak in our line that we heard from our Guru Varga, it's Śrīla Jīva Goswāmī. That came later on to personalities like Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Saraswati Thakur. We cannot ignore that. He is also Bhakti Rakak. But Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, he names Guru Maharaj. He also appoints Guru Maharaj on that post to continue protecting that sampradaya. Also, we forgot Baladev Vidyabhushan. He is also acted as Bhakti Rakak. But we can maybe tell a story connected to that when that Digvijay Pandit showed up in Vrindavan. And like people, they do all sorts of nonsense till this day. So people were doing nonsense forever, since the time immemorial. So there was this Digvijay Pandit. Digvijay means the one who conquered all, the west, the east, and south, the north, in all the directions he is victorious. But he heard there's some great Pandits, some great sadhus living in Vrindavan and Braja, Rupa and Sanatana. If you don't get some kind of a surrender from them, then you're not truly a Digvijay. You're just another one of those. So Digvijay, of course, with his huge pride, his ahankar, Gurudev points out, ahankar is not just a material ego. Gurudev points out, it's so vast, it's so huge. It's bigger than the material creation. It's that huge. So he is on that tree to assert himself, assert his ahankar around the whole world. So he goes to Vrindavan in that kind of mood, and he arrives to the very humble hermitage of Śrīla Rupa Goswāmī. And what is Rupa Goswāmī? What kind of literature he is writing? He is writing Rasika literature. Whatever he is witnessing in his eternal bhajan, that goes on the pages or the palm leaves. He is fully absorbed. He is not in this world. So hearing that all noise, because he would travel on the top of the elephant with servants, with orchestra, and a group of people who will just scream out his name. Here comes the great Digvijay, and blah, 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 all his titles, defeated this and defeated that. A lot of noise. So he shows up in that humble hermitage in the Braja, the land of Braja, where Rupa Goswāmī is fully absorbed in Krishna Lila. And then Rupa Goswāmī is, of course, disturbed. Said, what do you want? Said, I want to challenge you for a debate. I am the great Digvijay, and I'm this and that and that and this. And Srila Gurudev, once he was challenged, Maharaj, remember in Germany, I think, there was a gathering, so Mayavadi, the big, he thought he was a big Mayavadi, invited him. And then asking Srila Govinda Maharaj to speak, but Govinda Maharaj saying, I'm just, what can I say? I'm just a simple village boy. But then that simple village boy starts reciting the most beautiful Sanskrit shlokas, and that so-called great Mayavadi just disappears from the stage. So something like that happened. Jiva Goswami said, I have no interest, so what do you want from me? Then sign the papers that I have defeated you. Jiva Goswami said, yes, please give me the papers, I will sign it. So just leave me alone, please. So he signs the paper, finds Sanatana Goswami, long story short, same thing happens. Sanatana Goswami has no interest whatsoever. But then news reaching Jiva Goswami, and also somebody points out that there is another one who is known to be a great Pandit. So just to assure you full victory, you have to defeat that person. So he goes to the ashram of Śrīla Jīva Goswāmī, and maybe Maharaj will also tell us a little bit later, that's where our temple is actually. Think about that, try to conceive that. When we go to Vrindavan, we're staying in the ashram of Jīva Goswāmī, not nearby. We're actually staying in the ashram of Jīva Goswāmī, where Rupa Goswami stayed and all those wonderful Vaishnavas who gathered together. So he goes there, and then he says, you are the Jiva? Jiva Goswami says, yes. Your uncles accepted the defeat. Here are the papers with their signature. Look at them. Then Jiva Goswami said, oh, let me see. Who knows you? Maybe you faked them. Then he takes the papers, certificates, and then tears them apart and throws them away. And of course, the Pandit is very furious. And then Jiva Goswami said, if you want to really, truly defeat my uncles, you come through me first. I'm just their humble servant. I'm their young nephew. They're my gurus. If you can defeat their disciples, automatically you will be the most victorious. And then Jiva Goswami, he demolishes his ego, no doubt. But we always keep in mind how Srila Gurudev is saying, if you criticize anyone, if you're trying to correct somebody, do not destroy him completely. Leave some prestige there. Then a person will have some space to reconsider his actions and not just going to be on a big ego trip and disappears. And there will be no chance for him to basically feel sorry about what they did. So he is not only demolishing his ego, full victory, no doubt, but he converts his heart. He touches his heart to such extent that he is there pouring tears and saying, oh my God, what did I do? I committed the greatest offense to the sadhus, the greatest sadhus I have ever met. And then Jiva Goswami says, then you go and take shelter of them. And then Digvijay Pandit, he goes back to Rupa and Sanatana and takes shelter of both of them and becomes the follower of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So that happens. And again, that story is often illustrated, how Jiva Goswami acted not for his own pride or self-establishment, pratishta, but in order to protect the Sampradaya, protect the teachings of Mahaprabhu revealed by Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, protect the prestige of Mahaprabhu's line. So hence the Bhakti Rakak. And then later on, he continues composing beautiful Satsandarbha, again, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan. Rasika literature by Srila Rupa Goswami, Sambandha literature, which is very, you have to be a devotee to understand what Goswami, Sanatana Goswami is writing, his famous book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. If you're not a devotee, you will not understand that. So for the section of the Pandit, dry speculators, philosophers, Brahmans, smarta Brahman, Jiva Goswami, he composes the Satsandarbha, which is very a scientific approach to devotion. And Satsandarbha becomes the basis of Govinda Bhashya. So why Baladev Vidyabhushan is taking shelter, of course, knowing what Jiva Goswami position is, but also taking Satsandarbhas of Jiva Goswami as the foundation of Govinda Bhashya. So all that coming from Jiva Goswami.
Right, and as Padmanabh said, very personally for us, for our family, it's a very personal and sweet thing that this, you can say, inconceivably obtained property, not obtained, but the property which came to the service of Gurudev in an inconceivable way through the dead, telephone, speaking, etc. I mean, really extraordinary circumstance. Then the property that we have in Vrindavan means what is now our temple and ashram, etc. It is literally part of the compound of Jiva Goswami's Radha Damodar temple. And so it, in a very personal way, our family is presented there, and it's an indication how everything is living and alive. Gurudev did not want property in the center of Vrindavan. He positively did not want, because it's very dangerous. And he actually already had purchased property literally on the Parikrama path, and we passed by it, and almost I think every time I pass by it, I remember a little fondly, the land, which is the only land I know that Gurudev ever sold, because he was very, not possessive, but about land. He considered that land is not to be sold. You can buy it, but not sell it. But in Vrindavan, against the advice of so many who said, no, Gurudev, don't sell the land, it'll increase in value because Vrindavan is becoming very big and popular. So it'll increase in value so much. Don't sell it, don't sell it. But Gurudev, he said, I have no need for this land now that Krishna has given this place in the center of Vrindavan. That's where he wants our service to take place. And he said, and I am not going to do any business in Vrindavan that by waiting and I will get more money by selling some property in Vrindavan. And Gurudev is so clean and so clear in his view and approach that this way our seva place became revealed in Vrindavan as the very place of Jīva Goswāmī's establishing the Radha Damodar temple. And Jīva Goswāmī, being the youngest of the Goswāmīs, he was physically fit, able, as well as, of course, extremely mentally fit and able, or more than mentally, from the heart, a pure conduit for Krishna consciousness. But he personally took care of the other Goswāmīs and of devotees, and he made the Radha Damodar temple a central meeting point where the devotees can come together and the Goswāmīs can come together and have their Hare Katha and Kirtan, etc. And even today, when you look at the temple, when you're inside the courtyard and you see the deities, that room on the left, they say this is the room where the 6 Goswāmīs. Now it is a room, but I think it was the area, the place where the 6 Goswāmīs would regularly come and attend. And when Rupa Goswāmī was aged, then to look after him, Jīva Goswāmī brought him, and of course with his consent and everything, Rupa Goswāmī's happy consent. Rupa Goswāmī, so Jīva Goswāmī brought Rupa Goswāmī to the Radha Damodar temple, where famously his bhajan kutir is, and where famously opposite his bhajan kutir is his samadhi mandir. And so Jīva Goswāmī, he made that opportunity for the Hare Katha of the 6 Goswāmīs and for broadcasting that from the Radha Damodar temple. And Jīva Goswāmī's samadhi, it is right beside the temple, also on the other side of the temple. So in a separate place, separate area from Rupa Goswāmī's samadhi. And next to him, later on, was also buried, put the remains of Śrīla Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswāmī, whose property is just over the road. So we are very intimately connected with Jīva Goswāmī, with Rupa Goswāmī, with the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Śrīla Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswāmī, and with all of the Goswāmīs, in fact. But this particular identity, the protector of devotion, this is the very theme of our family coming through Guru Maharaj. And it is that message that Srila Prabhupada brought to the West. This is not a separate item. This is what Srila Prabhupada brought to the West. And Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev. And you see, note it, that Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev both considered Srila Guru Maharaj as their Gurudev, as their Guru. So we have, and who is Guru Maharaj? He's like that direct channel of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And so this is our family. We may never get such a family again. We hear that, okay, how can we be sure we're actually going to get a human birth next time? If we're not sincere. And then take it another step. If we get a human birth next time, how are we going to even imagine that we could get the connection in such an exalted family, lineage? So this is a wonderful time. Really, it is a wonderful time. We don't have long, any of us don't have long in this world. It is all super temporary. So accept what comes easily in the material plane without striving harder and harder, and try to give the main attention of our life for our devotional life, our devotional service. This I can say to myself, but to share with everybody, because it is really a great fortune, and we pray for the grace of their lotus feet, their attention, the attention of our masters. And together we can continue one by one. Very difficult, we know it. Hare Krishna and Seva Rupa Devidasi in Mexico joined us on Facebook too, and some time ago. It seems, please excuse, I didn't acknowledge Seva Rupa Devi in Mexico, and to your whole family, of course, a whole family of devotees, obeisances, and to our Darya Leela.
Aloha.
Hello, who's saying hello? Chintamani.
Yeah, it is. That's empty now. Okay, don't mind me. I'm traumatized of hearing your hunger story. I'm making you a sandwich for your plane ride.
Maharaj, also, that was Chintamani talking to someone else.
Into a devotee's life. Sorry about that.
Maharaj, you have dandavats from Mexico, from Mahayogi Prabhu.
Oh, Mahayogi Prabhu, I'm very happy to know you're here. I've heard every word of every one of your talks on the Bhagavad Gita. They are wonderful, and I can recommend those to everybody. I mean, really, I'm very happy about that. Dandavat Mahayogi Prabhu.
And also from Mexico, Madhuchanda Didi.
Madhuchanda Devidasi Dandavat. And to your family and to all of your devotee family in the beautiful temple that you made there in Mexico. My Dandavat Pranam. Jai.
And also in Mexico is Nityananda Das.
Yes, okay.
Venezuela.
Yes. Jai.
And Krishna Priya Didi in Soquel.
Okay, oh, Krishna Priya in Soquel. Very good. Somehow you can see their names. I can't. Facebook's mysterious way of working.
And there is one name that I cannot recognize, but he must be a devotee, John Hamill. Hammel. I don't know, but I think he's a devotee.
Okay, anyway, I'm not sure from the passport name, the regular name, but yes, to all the devotees, our obeisances and respect, and to everybody who comes here, we're very happy to have you with us. We are, as we want to do, with a like-minded family of affectionate devotees trying to fulfill the desires of our masters as best as we understand. So in a simple way, keeping the basis of our devotional service firm, and what will come, will come. But this is our main attention. We will keep the basis of our devotional life safe and sound. And today we've been hearing about, first of all, actually, Sanatana Goswāmī, and then Jīva Goswāmī, and then a touch of Rupa Goswāmī, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswāmī. And of course, we've been hearing about Gurudev and Guru Maharaj, and Śrīla Prabhupada too, giving all glories to all.
And Maharaj, just to honor
Jagadish Pandit.
Then, Prabhu, you can give a summary.
Oh, Maharaj,
If you wish. We're over time, so a little short.
Oh, we can just say that he was, like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswāmī, saying that it is impossible to mention, substantially describe the pastime, the glories, the qualities of all the devotees of Mahaprabhu. But we hear about him in Chaitanya Bhagavat. He is also mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was the dear friend of Jagannath Mishra, Mother Shachi, the elderly generation of Mahaprabhu Parashad, but also a Parashad of Nityananda Prabhu. And I cannot say for sure, could have been one of the most intimate associates, Dvadasha Gopal group, who are his eternal associates in Galoka Vrindavan. So this much we can say and really bow our head to all of the Mahaprabhu's, Nityananda Prabhu's followers of the past, present, and the future.
Jagadish Pandit.
Ki Jai, Śrīla Jīva Goswāmī Ki Jai. And Jai Navadip Saparika Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhava Govinda Sundarju Ki Jai. And Jai Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mata of Srila Gurudev and Srila Guru Maharaj and Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. And indeed, Jayam Vishnupad Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj Ki Jai. And Jayam Vishnupad Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Maharaj Ki Jai. And Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. And Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Vaga Ki Jai. All the present day, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. And to all of you, all our senior devotee section, Shri Kumkum Devi Rasi Ki Jai, Bhagavan Prabhu Ki Jai, Paramananda Ki Jai, Praneshri Devi Ki Jai. And to all of you good devotees who are here with us, online and in the recorded version. Ki Jai to you all and obeisances to you all, and we'll meet again soon. Thank you.
Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Dandavats, dear devotees, dandavat to you all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Very welcome.
Maharaj,
Yes.
I'm quite sure Gurudev would certainly ask, what are they cooking in Tom's kitchen? So maybe Ekadashi give us a half-a-minute description what's been cooked for the deity satisfaction.
Many things. Dandavats to Dandavats Maharaj, Dandavats Paramananda. The Mayanti Didi is a manager. She makes soup, spaghetti, and I don't know how to call this thing. Also, Siberian salad with
Beetroot.
beetroot, yes, and also this bread make our dear Kalindia. Yes, and also some this will be in the future bread also. So many things. Dandavats.
Unmanifested bread.
Yes.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo, Dandavat, Dandavat.